All right, welcome back. Hi, welcome back.
Hello.
Okay, so any questions about pronunciation?
No, I think it's just practice.
I agree, and I think that the more you dedicate time to that, the better, because for me, it makes such a huge difference when someone has tried to learn how to pronounce the language like a native speaker. And it's just going to sound so much more natural and professional as well if you're able to really work a little bit on your pronunciation. So I'm going to help you out a little bit with that. Okay, so it's
Yeah, thank you.
So do you want to repeat with me? La nariz.
La nariz.
Very nice. Great. So we've got the head, face, eyes, and nose. What else do you think you might need?
The neck.
The neck is a good one. So for neck, any idea?
Cuello.
No, it's got a double O, a double L, sorry. And in Spanish,
cuello.
yeah, a double L is pronounced like a Y noise, like a Y, yeah. So you'll notice that in Medellin, they kind of make a bit of a J kind of noise as well. So you might hear some people say el cuello, yeah?
El cuello.
And if you go to places like Argentina, they make a sh noise. So they'll say el cuello. But of course, for us, cuello is just fine. Yeah, el cuello. Good.
Cuello.
All right. What about the word for your ears?
Ojo. No, orejas.
Very good. So, las orejas. So,
Las orejas.
Las orejas.
Las orejas.
Very nice. And I loved how you pronounced the J there. It was nice and soft, like an H. So, your orejas is like the physical skin and cartilage, right? The Spanish have a different word for the hearing ear, okay? Do you remember in Spanish what the verb is for to hear?
Escucha.
Escuchar is to listen. What about for the verb for to hear?
No.
So the verb for to hear is oír. Okay, oír. O-I-R.
Oír.
So your ears, the hearing part of your ear is el oído.
El oído.
El oído, very nice. El oído.
El oído. El
Yeah.
oído.
And of course, that's as well where you get the expression oye. Has anyone ever said that to you before? Oye.
Oye.
Has anyone ever said that to you before?
Oye. I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, oye means like, it means hey. So, or if you wanted to be more polite, if you're, for example, you're in a restaurant and you want to get the attention of the waiter, it might be oiga, which is the polite form of it, yeah? Oye is like, hey, you know, so it's a bit more forceful.
Oye.
So oye is more forceful, oiga is more polite, yeah? And they're all connected with the verb oír.
Oye.
Very good. Okay. Another word that I'd like to introduce you to right now is the verb, the noun, the word for the jaw. So do you know what the name for the bone in English is? If you're thinking about your yoga anatomy, what's the name for the bone? Begins with M.
I'm not sure.
M-A-N.
No.
Man is your mandible, right?
Mandible.
Is your mandible, yeah? So
Mandible.
that's right. So the word in Spanish for the jaw is la mandíbula.
Mandibular.
Yeah, la mandíbula
Mandi-
is the jaw. And it's got, do you see it's got that funny little line over the top of the eye?
Yes.
Do you see that? What is that line for? What is that?
More emphasis on the eye.
Right, so that's what they call a tilde in Spanish, or we'd call it an accent in English, right? And it's to show where the stress of the word goes. Now, very generally speaking, the stress in Spanish tends to come on the second last syllable, right? So very generally in Spanish, the stress tends to come on the second last syllable. So, for example, cara, rostro, ojos, orejas, oído, cuello, cabeza, yeah? So the stress is almost always on the second last syllable. Not always, always. When the stress comes somewhere else in the word, often you'll see there is a little accent. So here it's mandíbula. It's not mandibula, yeah? It's mandíbula.
Mandibula.
So mandíbula.
Mandibula.
Very good. La mandíbula is your jaw. Okay?
Sure.
In yoga, we often talk about the chin as well, don't we?
Yes.
So you have postures like knees, chest, chin. So it can be useful to know how to say things like, let's lower the knees, chest, and chin to the ground. So there's 2 words for chin. We're just going to learn one today. Do you know what either of them are?
No, I don't.
So it's another M word, and this time it's mentón. El mentón. Okay?
El mentón.
El mentón. So again, you've got an accent on the O there. Why? Because otherwise it would be el mentón. And it's not the mentón, it's el mentón.
Once.
Any questions?
No. 1 second. I'm just going to see if I can improve the internet.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've dealt with, one other word that occurs to me that's really, really useful. And that's the word for the crown of your head. Because we often talk about, lengthening the crown in English, right? Or lifting the crown of the head. So what is the word literally in Spanish for a crown?
Crown. I'm not sure.
So there's a beer named after it. There's also a virus named after it. It's been pretty prevalent around the world.
Corona.
There we go. So in Spanish,
that's why the toilet's called Corona.
Yeah. So it's called coronavirus, of course, because it looks like it's kind of got a crown with all of these knobbly bits that's sticking off it. So in Spanish, crown is corona, but the word for the crown of your head is la coronilla.
Coronilla.
So have you ever seen words in Spanish where they add like an ito, ita, illo, illa at the end?
Yeah, to make it smaller.
Yeah, so we call that diminutive, right? Diminutive means that it sounds kind of like a little bit more cutesy, a little bit kind of, so it's really, really common in Latin America, for example, to use a lot of diminutives. Ay, me das un poquito de agüita, por favor. Un cafecito. Un poquito de ron. Yeah? Un roncito. So they use lots of these itos, itas, illos, and illas. So this word coronilla is just, it means like little crown, and it's the word that we use for the top of the head.
Coronilla.
La
Coronilla.
coronilla.
La coronilla. Coronilla.
Good. Very good. All right, excellent. So we've got words for the head, we've got some words for the face. All right, what about the mouth? Do you know anything for the mouth?
Boca.
Good. Now remember, how do we pronounce the O? Boca.
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 Yeah, so really make the O kind of shape.
Boca.
Yeah. I feel that when I speak Spanish, I have to use my face and especially my mouth really differently to how I need to in English in order to make the sound properly.
Boca.
Boca. Very good. So la boca is your mouth. Very good. All right, so let's put cuello at the bottom here. All right. So let's think about the words for like the shoulders and the chest now, as well as the arms. So what would the word for your shoulders be?
I know the shoulder blades is a spatula.
So what you've just said is the spatulas. You're quite close because in English, spatula and scapula are also kind of similar. So in Spanish, it's las escapulas. Yeah, so your shoulders are las
escapulas.
Yeah, so las escapulas. The other option is los omóplatos. Okay? So your omóplatos are it's another word for your shoulder blade. So can you say that with me? Omóplato?
Omóplatos.
Good. And again, listen to the rhythm of the words, right? Listen to the rhythm. Omóplato.
Omóplato.
Listen one more time. Omóplato. Beg your pardon. Right. Omóplato.
Omóplato.
So notice that it's kind of like a da-da-da-da rhythm. Escapulas, omóplatos. Yeah? So there's a bit of a rhythm to the word that I want you to get. Da-da-da-da, escapulas, omóplatos. So let's say it together. Escapulas.
Escapulas.
Ah, you've got that one. Now, omóplatos.
Omóplatos.
Got it. Excellent. So that's, again, it's another important thing is to pick up on the rhythm of the language as well. Like how do people tend to make a sense of rhythm in the language? Relaja tus escápulas. Sube tus hombros. Rota tus hombros hacia atrás. Yeah, so you get to feel this sense of rhythm going on.
Yeah.
Very good. So we've got the shoulder blade.
Escapulas.
Yeah. We've got the blade, the shoulder blade. Now we're going to need a word for the shoulders.
I don't know. Hombro.
Yeah. Los hombros. Yeah. So it's really important to be careful with that word because some people get confused and they say los hombres, right? Which means men. And of course, you don't want to start saying, okay, everybody, let's relax the men. Relajamos los hombres. Because that'll sound really, really weird in your class if you start saying that. So it's los hombros, right?
Los hombros.
Very good. Los hombros. Relaja tus hombros. Relax your shoulders. All right.
Relaja
Awesome.
tus hombros.
What about
Los
the
hombros.
chest?
No, I don't. I know that abdomen. Abdomen.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, let's put that one in. El abdomen. That's a nice word. Now, I liked, again, you've got the right rhythm to that word there, el abdomen. Yeah? So it's important
El
not to, in
abdomen.
English, we say the abdomen. But in Spanish, they don't say el abdomen, they say el abdomen.
El abdomen.
Good. Now, the word for the chest is el pecho. P-E-C-H-O.
El
pecho.
pecho.
You did remember that one.
Yeah.
Good.
When I heard it.
Yeah, a lot of these things, they come back, right? When you see them written down, you think, yeah, I remember that. Good. Now, a really important thing that we talk about a lot in yoga is the spinal column, right? So the most common way to talk about the spinal column in Spanish is la columna.
Columna.
And you can say la columna vertebral, but it's not necessary to say vertebral. Like if you say alargamos la columna, people will understand you. You don't need to say, it's like in English. If you say the spine, people know what you're talking about. Okay? You also need to be careful not to say la espina. Okay? Una espina is like the little kind of tiny bones that you find inside a fish. Yeah? We don't talk about espinas in yoga. Yeah? We talk about la columna.
Okay.
Now, in your spine, you have, in your main spinal column, so not your pelvic spine, you have 3 parts, don't you? What are the 3 parts of the spine in English?
I can't think right now.
You've got your neck, don't you? What would your neck be in terms of spine?
I'm not sure.
So that's what we call in English the cervical spine, right? Is your neck. Yeah. Then your torso is the thoracic spine. And then your lower back is the lumbar spine. Yeah?
Yes. I remember. Yeah, lumbar spine.
It's useful to be able to talk about those 3 areas in Spanish as well. So when they're talking about those 3 areas, they talk about an area as la zona. So a zona is like an area or a region, okay? So starting at the top, we've got la zona cervical, which is your cervical area, cervical zone. La zona torácica, which is your thoracic spine, and la zona lumbar, and that is your lumbar spine.
Okay, la zona cervical.
So let's pronounce it together. First of all, I want you to say la columna.
La columna.
Good. La columna.
La columna.
Very good. So that's the word for the spine. Oh, sorry, the other girl is just writing me now. I'm just going to send her a super quick message.
Okay. La zona.
Yeah, she just got the wrong time, as I'd suspected. Okay, so do you have any questions so far?
No, I was just thinking when you say vertebrae by vertebrae,
Yeah.
in Spanish you would say vertebral by vertebral. No?
Yeah, we'll come to that another day because,
Okay.
again, that's slightly more technical language. But it's worth knowing that una vertebra is the word that you would use for a vertebra. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's pronounce those words together again. So la columna,
La columna,
good. And then you've got the three areas: la zona cervical,
la zona cervical,
la zona torácica,
la zona torácica,
la zona lumbar,
la zona lumbar
y una vértebra.
y una vértebra.
Good. Perfect. All right, you're doing great. Okay, so let's just welcome Hannah to the course. Hi, Hannah. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Welcome. How are you today?
Good. So sorry that I'm late.
Oh, that's no problem. That happens all of the time.
Hello, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
So, Hannah, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about the yoga that you've done so far and a little bit about your experience with Spanish.
Sure. So I just moved to El Paso, Texas, which is right on the border of Mexico. So a lot of Spanish speaking language happens here in the city. So I'm trying to, I took it in high school, so I'm trying to remember. My husband speaks Spanish too, so that helps a little bit. And then as far as yoga, I took 200-hour training when I lived in New York. It was actually 1 year ago today, so yeah.
Awesome. And what would you like to achieve by the Spanish course? What are your intentions?
My intentions, like I'm really feel like I'm being called to serve in the Mexican community, specifically people who are immigrating into the States. There's a lot of in the United States. There's a lot of some awful things that are happening, and especially at the border where a lot of people aren't being let in. So I really feel like yoga, I mean, just breathing, I think that these little moments can kind of bring some peace to people. So I'm hoping to kind of bring that somehow to this community.
Thank you. That's really awesome. Alana, why don't you just tell us a little bit, just one more time, about what you're doing right now in Latin America?
Hello, I'm Alana. I'm living in Colombia. I'm from England, and I'm also hoping to work with people from the different communities in Colombia and teach yoga in Spanish also.
Great. Thanks so much, Alana. So, Hannah, we've been looking through the body just bit by bit to kind of get ourselves oriented so far. We have recorded the first part of class. You're welcome. At a later point, you can go back and watch through all of that. But I think my message when I start the language course to everyone is always patience and self-kindness. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are very self-critical and impatient with themselves when it comes to learning a language. They want to learn, they want to know everything yesterday and to speak perfectly without making any mistakes. And I mean, that's just not how language works at the end of the day. And I mean, I've been speaking Spanish full time now for 9 years, and I still make mistakes regularly, but it's fine. You know, it's all part of the learning process. So be kind to yourself, just go little by little, set obtainable goals. And yeah, we'll be focusing a lot on just really getting ourselves familiar with parts of the body and verbs in the first week. Okay? Great. So we had our little diagram of a man here, and we were looking at different parts of the spine. So we've got the la columna is the word that we looked at for the spine. And we worked out that we had 3 areas to our main spine, which is the cervical spine, thoracic, and lumbar. And we worked out that those areas, we call them zonas in Spanish. So la zona cervical is your cervical spine. La zona torácica is your thoracic spine, and la zona lumbar is your lumbar spine. Okay, great. Now let's move across to the arms. So, Alana, do you know any word that you might use for your arms?
En brazos.
Good, so los brazos.
Los brazos.
Good. So the full arm is referred to as the brazo. And of course, if you want to use the word for forearm, it's very similar. So what in Spanish is the word for before or in front of?
Antes.
Good. And so your forearm is el antebrazo. Good. Now, we're not going to get too technical today with our Spanish, right? But you can actually, when you start to get more confident and you start to talk more about anatomy in Spanish, you'll see that a lot of the Spanish anatomical words are quite similar to the English anatomical words as well, which is really nice because if you know kind of the technical terms for the muscles, you'll find that they sound very similar in most languages. So, for example, los bíceps y los tríceps, los pectorales, los deltoides, el trapecio, yeah? So a lot of the muscle names sound really, really similar, which is good news, no? Okay. Hannah, what word might you use for the elbow in Spanish?
I don't know the elbow.
Begins with a C.
El codo.
That's right. So we were talking a little bit about pronunciation here and the fact that you need to make the vowels in Spanish sound stronger and the consonants sound softer. Okay, so let's again, just because it's good practice, repeat the vowels together and then we'll have a little look at consonants and then we'll get our pronunciation down. So I'll say it first, then you can repeat it with me. A.
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 E. Really emphasize it.
E.
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 O.
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 U.
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 So the vowels sound stronger, but the consonants sound softer. So instead of saying codo, like with a very k kind of forceful C, it's good to make it sound softer, el codo.
Colo.
Yeah, so again, the D is not like a D. It's not codo, it's codo.
And that's kind of overall universal. I guess I've never heard that before, but that's super helpful that the vowels are stronger than the consonants.
Yeah, and it's the same challenge because I've worked with a lot of Spanish speakers teaching them English as well. And for them, they need to make their vowels sound softer and their consonants sound harder. So it was really common when I was in Spain to hear people say, well, yesterday I walked my dog. And you think, oh God, that sounds horrible. Because for them, they need to soften the consonants and, soften the vowels and make the consonants sound stronger. And quite often they will say like, well, last year I want to go to the beach. You know, no, it's wanted. And it's not that they don't know that it doesn't have an ED on the end of the word. It's just they don't pronounce it because it sounds so soft. So that's our main challenge in Spanish. When we're saying things like cara, nariz, brazos, cabeza, is to make a lot of those consonants sound softer. And for you, but you're American, you'll need to make the R sound much more like ra, ra, ra. So you tap the front of the tongue to the back of your palate there, ra, ra, ra. Can you have a go with that?
Ra, ra, ra.
Perfect. So again, when it's like hombros, what other words do we have with an R in them here? Coronilla, for example. O brazos, antebrazo.
Brazos.
Good. All right. Let's move down the arm a little bit further. So below our forearm and above our hand, we've got our wrist. What word? Does anybody know which word they would use in Spanish for a wrist?
No.
Same word that they would use for a doll, funnily enough, in Spanish.
Muñeca.
Good, so it's muñeca.
Muñeca.
Yeah, so you need to, again, make sure you're really pronouncing that E there. So Lana, can you repeat that with me as well? La muñeca.
La muñeca.
Good. So ñe, which the accent on the top of it, is actually a different letter altogether from a normal N, and it makes a ñ noise. So la muñeca, the wrist. And then we come down to our hand, okay? So, anyone know what the word for hand is?
Manos.
Mano. Now, is that masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Now, that's the funny thing, isn't it? Because it ends in O, so we think, most words that end in O are masculine. But there are some exceptions to that rule. And mano is one of them. So it's actually la mano. Yeah? And if there's one thing I have to correct people 500 million times on in the Spanish course for yoga teachers is la mano. Baja la mano al suelo. Yeah? Apoya la mano en la colchoneta. La mano, feminine. So you'll be hearing plenty from me about that. Good. Okay. Moving down your mano, we of course have the palm of the hand. And the word for the palm of the hand and like a palm tree is actually similar. Any ideas what the word for palm is?
Palma.
La palma. And here in Medellin, we actually have a street called Las Palmas, right?
Las Palmas.
Good, La Palma, your palm. Beautiful. At the end of your palm, you've got your fingers. And funny thing, in Spanish, your hand fingers and your foot fingers are actually the same word. So they don't have a separate word for toes in Spanish. What would the word for fingers be?
Dedo.
Los dedos. And that's another word, again, when we need to get into the habit of pronouncing the D slightly softer and the E quite strongly. So it's not los dedos, it's los dedos. So let's repeat it together. Los dedos.
Los dedos.
All together.
Los dedos.
Yeah, good. La palma.
La palma.
La mano.
La mano.
La muñeca.
La muñeca.
Good.
La muñeca.
Nice. Excellent. Questions so far? So with the word for fingers, quite often in Spanish, they'll specify whether they're talking about los dedos de la mano, or what do you think your toes are in Spanish then? If your fingers are los dedos de la mano, what are your toes?
Los dedos de la paí.
So it's pie, okay? So pie. So do you want to have a go at pronouncing with me? Pie.
Pie.
Very good. Los dedos del pie. So el pie is masculine. And so that's why sometimes in Spanish you hear Spanish speakers saying, okay, I want you to stretch your foot fingers. And it sounds very, very odd, but what they're trying to say is stretch your toes. Awesome. So far, so good, no?
Yeah.
Let's come back all the way up to the chest again. So we've got a word for the chest, which is el pecho, right? What about a word for the back?
Espalda.
Very good, la espalda. So often a word that we talk about elongating the back, elongating the spine. And I think it might be useful as well for us to have a word for ribs. What would be your word for your ribs? You see it on menus quite often here in Medellin, of course. Las costillas.
Las costillas.
Good, las costillas. Whereas here they might say las costillas, or in Argentina, las costillas. Good, okay. So I think we're doing pretty well with the upper body. We've got shoulders, shoulder blades, chest, back, ribs, abdomen, el abdomen. What other words might be kind of useful for like the area of the core?
The hips.
Nice, yeah, the hips are definitely a useful word. Hannah, any ideas for hips?
I'm reading it here, las caderas.
Yeah, so I want you to work on your R now. So remember that, again, we place the tip of the tongue against the palate.
Las
Go ahead.
caderas.
Excellent, so much better. Las caderas. And as I was saying to Alana, for me, it's so important to work a little bit on pronunciation because it just sounds like you're really listening when you're speaking a foreign language. But you're not just going to try to plow into it with, you know, a sort of a gung-ho kind of English attitude. We're trying to really listen to how people pronounce it. So it's las caderas. Good, okay. Now, there might be another couple of words that are useful for the area in and around the abdomen and the hips. What other words do you think might be helpful?
Pelvis, or like pelvic floor, I feel like we say.
Yeah. So that's a word in Spanish that's actually really easy. It's just the same as in English, and it is la pelvis. La pelvis.
La pelvis.
Of course, we could talk a little bit about the pelvic spine, right? So you've got two parts to your pelvic spine. What are they in English? So when we go underneath the lower back, we go underneath your lumbar spine. What do we arrive at? Hard, bony area at the top of your pelvis, and it's called the
coccyx.
So you've got the sacrum first, and then you've got the coccyx underneath. So in Spanish, el sacro is the sacrum. Nice and easy, no?
Yeah.
Now, here's a little challenge for you. Can you spell coccyx in English? I'll give a small prize to anyone who can spell coccyx in English.
That word is not familiar to me at all.
So coccyx in English is a hell of a difficult spelling. It's C-O-C-C-Y-X. Yeah? So it sounds crazy. In Spanish, it's el coxis, C-O-X-I-S. Super easy. It's spelled literally the way that it. So let me just show you very, very quickly. I'll bring up my anatomy presentation here. So, okay. So on screen, you can see the pelvis, right? So it's a shape that's familiar to you, I imagine. And we mainly think about the sort of the big bony, sticky outside parts, which is the ilium, right? When we're thinking about our pelvis. But our pelvis also has this big green part at the back, which is actually a part of your spinal column, right? But the vertebrae are actually fused together into one solid piece. So there's no articulation, there's no mobility in your sacrum. And then you can see the number 8 down at the bottom here. That is your coccyx. So again, it's what used to sort of become your tail, I suppose, and whenever, you know, in the process of evolution, we had a tail. So, and then of course, the sacrum joins into the lumbar spine. Any questions? And there's a nice little diagram of the whole of the spinal column. So you can see L1 through 5, the lumbar spine, joining into the sacrum, that red thing, and then the coccyx at the very bottom. Okay, perfect. Questions so far?
No, I don't think so.
Good, excellent. Hannah, questions so far?
No questions so far.
Okay, so we've talked now. Oh, one other thing that I'd like to pop into the area of the abdomen is the belly button. So what's the cord called that attaches a baby to their mother?
Umbilical.
Right, and the word umbilical sounds very close to the word in Spanish for belly button, which is el ombligo. So I'm sure both of those words have a common root, ombligo with a B. El ombligo.
Ombligo.
El ombligo.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we've got the abdomen, we've got the belly button, hips, pelvis. Maybe it would be useful to know a word for the waist. So your waist is la cintura. Because of course you've got a belt, which sounds similar. What's the word for a belt in Spanish? That'll be useful for your, when you need a strap or a belt, is un cinturón, right? Un cinturón is a belt. So una cintura is your waist. So belt goes around your waist.
How did you spell the belt? Cinturón? Was it cinturón?
So have a little look at the presentation here. So let's see. I think I had, there we go. Do you see I've highlighted there? El cinturón or la correa.
Cinturón.
Beautiful. Okay, let's move down the body now and just finish off with a couple more words. So, word for the legs. Hannah, what do you know any words for that you would use for the legs?
Piernas.
And again, yeah, just careful with your R.
Piernas.
Piernas, las piernas. Very good. All right, las piernas. Good. Moving down, we have the knee. So, Alana, do you remember what the word for your knee is?
Rodilla.
Very nice. La rodilla. And it's important to get the gender right there because un rodillo is a rolling pin. So you don't want to start saying things like place your rolling pins on the floor. You're going to start sounding like you're speaking like Cockney rhyming slang or something like that. So yeah, las rodillas. Apoya las rodillas en la colchoneta, your knees. All right. Now, here's another little anatomy lesson for you. I love torturing people with anatomy. Your hamstrings. Whereabouts do you find your hamstrings?
Hamstrings.
Where are your
At
hamstrings?
the back of your calf. No.
So the calf is the lower leg, the hamstrings is the upper leg, right? And so the origin of the hamstrings is on the pelvis again. So you might not know that. Again, I'm going to show you because there's a reason that I'm showing you these things and it'll become clear in a moment. I'm going to show you the anatomy presentation again. So can you see the pelvis here?
Mm-hmm.
And can you see this very bottom point underneath the number 3? So we usually refer to that commonly in English as your sit bones, right? Is that a term that's familiar to both of you? Yeah.
Yes.
So anatomically, your sit bones are a part of your ischium, right? So the full technical term, if you want it to be super technical about it, is that it's your ischial tuberosity, okay? It just means the bit of your ischium that kind of sticks out at the bottom. So it's really useful to know that when you're doing yoga practice, because your pelvic rotation is largely limited by your hamstrings. People who have very tight hamstrings will not be able to get much rotation in their pelvis. Okay, so that's the origin of the hamstrings, and the hamstrings actually go across two joints. So they go across your hips and they go across your knees. So they attach right across the bottom of the knees into both bones of the lower leg. So the fibula and the tibia. Okay, so in Spanish, let's close that. In Spanish, the hamstrings are actually called los isquiotibiales, right? So let me write that down, los isquiotibiales. Because the word is acknowledging both the origin, the ischium, and the insertion, the tibia, right? Los isquiotibiales. So let's say that together. Los isquiotibiales.
Los isquiotibiales.
Okay, Alana as well. I want you to join in. Los isquiotibiales.
Los isquiotibiales.
So let's break it down. Okay, isquio. Tibiales.
Tibiales.
Isquiotibiales.
Isquiotibiales.
Good. Now I want you to practice that for tomorrow. I'm going to give you a little quiz and see how your pronunciation is. So, if you do want a word for the sit bones, that would be los isquiones. So I'll just pop that there. Isquiones. Los isquiones, your sit bones. So you've got your sit bones, you've got your hamstrings. Good. Any questions so far?
Other words that I've heard used for sit bone is like
Yes, that's your muscle, right?
Los glúteos.
Glúteos. Yeah, los glúteos.
Yeah, gluteus.
So I'll pop that down there as well. So that's the glute muscles are obviously your main muscles in the back of your hip. So that's why people are talking about the glutes. I think if you want to be kind of technical in yoga, it's best to be able to identify separately the glutes and the sit bones. Because quite often grounding yourself on top of your sit bones is much more specific than just talking about sitting on the glutes. Because you can be kind of rolled kind of far backwards sometimes when you're sat on your glutes, but if you're sitting on your sit bones, generally we have to roll the glutes out from underneath us to be able to do that properly. So, but anyway, yeah, los glúteos are your glutes.
Glúteos.
What about the word for your thighs? Thighs are los muslos. Los muslos. And you want to be a little careful about confusing the word for thigh with the word for a muscle. Because a muscle is los músculos. Oops, I've misspelled it. Los músculos. With an accent on the U. Los músculos. Good. What about the word for a bone? What's the word for a bone?
Hueso.
Excellent. El hueso. And finally, the word for skin. La piel.
Yeah.
La piel. Good. So muslo and músculo are different. Yeah, your muslos are your thighs, Los músculos can be any muscles in the body, right? All right, we're almost done now, okay? Let's talk about your lower legs. In English, if you're leading a yoga class, what parts of the lower leg might you mention?
The ankle.
Good, your ankle. Okay, any ideas for ankle? Begins with T.
Tabia.
Good. And again, careful pronunciation of the vowels there. Tobillo.
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 Good, tobillo. Nice, well done. All right, what other parts of the lower leg might you mention, Hannah?
The calves.
Yeah, so your calves, there's a kind of a funny word for calves, right? Have you ever seen the muscle on the back of your calf? It looks kind of like, well, you tell me, what does the muscle on the back of your calf look like? I always think it's funny to look at bodybuilders. So, because they have these like hyper kind of defined muscles. So have a little look at the back of, do you see that rather horrendous image of the back of someone's calves there? So what kind of shape does that have?
A P? Or?
It's kind of like a butt, no? It's kind of like a pair of butt cheeks almost.
I've never seen calves that look like that before.
Well, that's the muscle. The muscle is called the gastrocnemius, right? And the gastrocnemius is an odd muscle because it has two bellies. It has two separate bellies to it. So in Spanish, they actually recognize this in the name of the muscle, and they call it the twins, funnily enough. So it's kind of like the name that a bodybuilder might use for their biceps, right? It's got a date with the twins. So they call the calves los gemelos.
Gemelos.
Los gemelos. Let me write that on the presentation. Los gemelos. Yeah, with one L, of course. So far, so good, no?
Yes.
And we've already mentioned that the word for a foot is what?
Pie.
El pie. Very nice. Now, there are tons more words that you can learn for the body, right? So in your handouts that I sent you by email, you've got a big long list of all kinds of different parts of the body by alphabetical order. And then you've got another page which deals with hands, face, and feet, right? So do take a look at those tonight. But the idea is just to go through little by little and learn these things slowly, okay? So we're going to do a little memorization test now. So I'm going to give you both 4 minutes to memorize as many parts of the body as you can that we've just done. So have a look at that image, just go through, have a go at memorizing, see what sticks, and I'm going to be back in 4 or 5 minutes and we're going to see what we can remember. Any questions?
No. La coronilla. La coronilla. El pelo. Las empujones. Las empujones. my order. That is Queen Elizabeth. And Bill.
Okay, hi everyone. So
Hello.
I'm going to give you now a few minutes together. So I'd like you to put away any materials that you have, like your notebooks, close them up, or find a fresh page in the notebook, even better, and see from memory how much you know together. So collaborate. Again, I'm going to stop my video and go on mute. And when in about 5 minutes time you're finished, you can both guide me through the body part by part. Okay? Sound good? So again, I just want you to spend 4 or 5 minutes now together just to put down as many parts of the human body as you can from memory. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So do you want to start with the face?
La cara is the face.
Ojos.
Ojos, eyes. Orejas.
Orejas. Do you remember how to spell orejas?
O-R-E-H-A-S. Orejas.
Nariz.
Nariz. La boca, the mouth. The crown is a coronia. Coronia is the crown.
Coronillas, or I haven't learned that. Coronillas.
Coronia.
Coronia.
Neck, I can't remember.
I can't remember. Chest.
Pecho.
Pecho. Los brazos are arms.
Yes. Espalda and the back.
Manos.
Manos. Yes. Antebrazo, the forearm.
What was it?
Antebrazo.
Brazo.
Antebrazo. La columna. La columna is the spine.
Columna.
Columna. La abdomen. El abdomen, I'm not sure. Abdomen.
And pelvis is pelvis.
Pelvis. El coccyx. El coccyx.
Coccyx. Thighs were los
Musculus. Musculus.
Was it musculus? Is that muscles?
Ah, yeah.
It's something similar to that, though. I don't remember.
I remember the las glutos. Los glutos. The muscles on the seat bone.
I don't remember the calf muscles. That was like a really tricky one.
The legs. The knee. Cobilla. No.
Feet. So feet was a pie or pie.
Pie.
Yeah.
Pie for the feet.
But
pie.
What? So if fingers, do we have fingers?
Dedo.
Dedos. So,
Dedos, las manos.
Okay, so dedos, las manos, dedos, las pies.
I think it's dedos del pies.
But dedos for fingers was dedos for hand, dedos.
And dedos las manos for fingers. Dedo del pie here for the toes. Yeah, I don't know. Thighs, knees.
I don't remember.
Shoulders, I remember. Hombro. And the pelvis, la coccyx.
Musculus was muscles, right? So it's something similar for calf muscles. No, calf muscles was the twins.
Calf muscle twins is I can't remember. Goelos.
Yeah, something with a G. Something with a G. I don't. So the one that sounded like muscles was the thighs, right?
I think so.
Muslas.
Muslo.
Muslo. Try it.
I think yeah.
Oh, belly button. I don't remember.
Oh, what is it in English?
Oh, right. It was similar to the umbilical. It was something.
Yeah.
Umbilica or.
Gemelo. I think twins is like gemelos. Gemelos. Las Palmas. Las Palmas.
Okay, so it sounds as though you've been memorizing a lot of good stuff, been hearing some really different stuff. One or two little things with pronunciation that we're going to iron out. Okay. Let me share my screen with you again. Okay, so you can see the human body there again. I want you to take me through from starting up at the top of the head and moving down towards the feet with the things that you could remember. Hannah, let's start with you.
La cara.
La cara, nice. So we actually found that there's another word as well for cara, for face, that's used perhaps even more commonly by yoga teachers. Alana, do you remember what that might be?
No, I couldn't remember.
So
el
rostro.
rostro.
El rostro is the face, yeah. So in Spanish, often cara is used for like expressions. So for example, esta persona anda con muy mala cara. Like they kind of have a really kind of a bad expression or kind of ugly expression. Whereas rostro is often used more like for kind of the physical face. So relaja tu rostro. Yeah? So cara and rostro. Good. Well done. Alana, what was another one of the words that you learned?
Coronilla.
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 La coronilla. Good. Well done. And what's your coronilla?
The crown of your head.
Excellent. Well done. Good. Hannah?
Los ojos.
Los ojos. Very good. That would be what?
Eyes.
Your eyes. Well done. Good. Alana?
La nariz.
La nariz. Very good. Well done. What's your nariz?
Nose.
Well done. Hannah?
La boca.
La boca. I loved your pronunciation there. It was nice, soft consonants. Well done.
Mouth.
And your mouth. Very good. Well done. Alana, anything else from the head and the face?
I don't remember the chin.
Yeah, the chin. El mentón.
El mentón.
With an accent on the O, right? Just otherwise it would be mentón, whereas it's mentón because the accent shows us the stress goes on the last syllable. Beautiful. Okay. Hannah, moving down the body. Anything else that you remember?
Manos.
Yeah, good. And what's the gender of mano?
La La mano.
Good. So la mano, the hand. Very good. Well done. Elena?
La hombros.
Now,
Los hombros.
yes, because in that case, el hombro, it ends in O and it is masculine. So it's el hombro or los hombros.
Los hombros.
Very good.
I'm
And do
sorry.
you remember the two different words for shoulder blades?
Sorry, what is los hombros?
Los hombros are your, what do you think, Elena?
Oh, shoulders.
Your shoulders. Good. And what about the word for your shoulder blades?
Espaculas.
You're almost there. Remember, it's not spatulas, it's scapulas.
Scapulas.
Las escapulas.
Las escapulas.
Yeah. La espátula is the spatula, la escapula is your scapula. They look kind of similar, but that's about as far as it goes. All right. And what was the other word for your shoulder blades?
I don't know.
So, los omóplatos.
Las homoplatos.
So let's say it all together. Los omóplatos.
Los omoplatos.
Los homoplatos.
Good. Yeah, so again, hearing the rhythm of the word there is really useful. Da, 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 da. Escapulas, omóplatos.
So that also means shoulder blades. So you
Correct.
Can say,
Yeah, they're synonyms.
Okay.
Just the same as the scapula and your shoulder blades are synonyms as well in English. Good. Okay. What about the word for the spine?
La columna.
Now, be very careful with your pronunciation there. A lot of people pronounce it as though it had a second A, but it's la columna.
La columna.
So it's not calumna, it's columna.
columna. Columna.
Columna. Good. And remember we had 3 parts to our spine. What were they?
La coccyx? No.
So
La cervix.
Yeah, the cervix, no. So those are parts of the pelvis, the sacrum and the coccyx. Rather, I'm talking about the 3 parts of
Zonas.
the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, and the lumbar spine. Do you remember how we talked about those in Spanish?
Yeah. La zona, la columna. No.
Yeah, so la zona is like an area or a region, right? So la zona cervical is your cervical spine. La zona torácica is your thoracic spine. La zona lumbar is your lumbar spine. Then you have el sacro, the sacrum, and el coccyx.
Okay.
All right. Hannah, what were some of the other words for the upper body, the trunk, the arms, anything that you can remember?
Brazos.
Los brazos, very good. Your arms. And what about the word for your forearms?
Antebrazo.
Good, los antebrazos. Well done. Alana, do you remember the word for the elbow or the wrist?
Codo.
El codo. Again, nice soft D. El codo.
Codo.
And what about for the wrist?
I don't think so.
La muñeca.
La muñeca.
La muñeca. Very good. Hannah, were there any parts of the chest or the abdomen, any of those things that you can remember?
La abdomen.
One more time.
La abdomen.
So it's masculine, so it would be el abdomen. Good. Alana?
El stomaco.
Yeah, we didn't actually put that down, but we'll put it down now. So it's el estómago. So that's your stomach, the organ that digests food, yeah?
El pecho.
El pecho, nice. Your chest. Good.
The belly button. I don't remember.
So remember, it's connected with the idea of umbilical. El ombligo.
El ombligo.
Beautiful. Hannah, moving down the body, was there anything else that you remember?
Dedos.
Los dedos. Good. And what are your dedos?
Fingers.
Yeah, so that would be los dedos de la mano. Good. And then your toes would be?
Del pie.
Los dedos del pie. Excellent. Good. Well done. All right. What about the word for the pelvis, Alana?
La pelvis.
Nice,
La
easy
pelvis.
one, la pelvis. Very good. Okay. And this is a difficult one now. Does anybody remember the sit bones? So
No.
think about the pelvis that it comes from. The ischium.
Isquiolet.
You're almost there. Los isquiones. Los
Las
isquiones.
isquiones.
So those are your sit bones, and the hamstrings are the isquiotibiales, right? Because they go down to the tibia, or at least on one side they do.
Los isquiones. Los isquiones.
That's correct. Los isquiones, your
Okay.
sit bones. And I think you also had a word
Isquiones.
for the glutes, right? What was the word for the glutes?
La gluteus. No.
So if it ends in OS, what gender is it likely to be?
Masculine.
Masculine. So is it going to be las?
Los.
No.
Los. Los glúteos. Good. Los glúteos, your
Los
glutes.
Los
Well
glúteos.
done. And what about words for the leg, the thighs, the knees, any other parts of the body there?
I couldn't remember the legs at all.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the
Hip.
So what about the word for just the legs? You go to the P?
Pie. No.
Yes.
Piernas. Las piernas.
Piernas.
What about the knees?
Gemelos. No.
The gemelos are the twins, right? The twin-shaped muscle. So los gemelos are your calves. Good. Well done. Your knees,
Gemelos.
las rodillas.
Rodillas.
Yeah,
Los
las rodillas. Beautiful. Let's finish this off now. So, Hannah, any other words that you have on your body there?
Nothing on the legs besides PA for foot.
Mm-hmm. So, el pie for the foot. Good. What about el tobillo? What's your tobillo?
Ankle?
It's your ankle. Well done. Great. So, well done. So you should have, as I say, a full list of parts of the body there. What I would like you to do for tomorrow is to choose 13 brand new words that you didn't know before today, right? So it might be things that we studied in our presentation there. They might be other parts of the body, or they might be parts of the hand, face, and feet. So just for tonight, I want you to look through all of those 13 new words and learn them. We're going to do a little bit of bingo tomorrow. We're going to, just see kind of how we're absorbing things. The other thing that I'd like you to do is to begin to brush up on your verbs, okay? Now, do either of you know what a reflexive verb is?
I don't think so.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do then is to do a little bit of reading online before tomorrow. Because for me, reflexive verbs are something that cause a little bit of trouble sometimes, people in English, because in English, we don't really use them, okay? So it's something a bit different that Spanish does that we don't, okay? A bit like the subjunctive in that sense. So read around a little bit online, what are reflexive verbs? And it would be useful as well to know how the present tense works. So if you have a verb in the present tense, how can you change it? How can you conjugate it into the different I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they forms?
Okay. And what's the name of the verbs, just so I can write it down?
Reflexive verbs, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Reflexive.
Good. So we start reasonably slowly just by looking at vocabulary. Tomorrow we'll get verbs sorted out. Then we'll do directions and prepositions on Wednesday. And we'll also have a look on Wednesday at how we can start structuring simple sentences. So that by Thursday, which is when Paulina, she's the native speaking teacher from Mexico who's going to be helping us construct really nice kind of native sounding language, so that by that time you can have some material prepared to work with her. Okay, good. So very well done, both of you. It's been lovely to meet you both. I hope you both enjoyed this evening. We're finishing just a little bit early today. Tomorrow, I imagine we'll probably go on for the full 2 hours. But yeah, as always, I record these classes. I then pop them up on YouTube so that you can rewatch them. As always, write me if you have any questions at all. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a lovely evening and rest well.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.